Hi, my name is Jessica Berner and I'm the garden specialist here at North Texas Food Bank. Welcome to another episode of Homegrown to Home Cooked. This is a perfect time to grow green onions here in Texas. They grow really well, especially if you love green onions. You may have bought some. They may have waited a little too long in your fridge and you forgot about them and they don't look so great. Good news is you can replant them right in your garden. You just plant them about 2 inches deep in your garden soil. Wait a month or two and they will regrow and they'll be beautiful. Once you pull them out of the soil, all you have to do is pull off the dirty outer layers of the leaves and then give them a wash before you head into the kitchen. A few growing tips on how to grow green onions. They love our cool weather here in North Texas, so that's approximately between October and February or March. In the hot summer months, they cannot take the heat here in Texas. They will get really tough and die back. So really, winter is a great time to grow these. These grew throughout our latest episode of freezing rain and ice. They did fine and they survived and grew back just fine after that. So they're a great plant to grow either in your garden or even in your apartment balcony, pot, or kitchen windowsill. If you, like me, love green onions and you buy too many and you take them home from the grocery store and they linger a little too long in your refrigerator, good news is you can replant them in your garden. You do not have to have a big garden. They can grow in just a little pot on your apartment balcony or in a giant garden if you have that luxury. They will be perfect and delicious and ready to eat again in a month or two. So reduce, reuse, recycle your green onions. Another winter plant we have right now in our garden are radishes. They are a fantastic plant to grow here in North Texas from November through March. They love our cool weather. They don't love below freezing 20-degree weather, just as I don't love that particularly. But they love cool, cloudy, rainy weather, and they do really well in that type of environment. They do not love our summers. It is too hot and too dry for them, and if you grow them then, they will get really, really, really peppery. So I highly recommend growing them as a cool season crop here in North Texas. But they're fantastic. They take around a month to go from seed to radish, and you can grow them about 1 inch apart, plant the seeds about 1/2 inch deep, water them every day until they sprout, and then water them 2 or 3 times a week after that so that they get nice and plump and crisp. And that's how you grow radishes. They don't need a lot of pampering. They like some balanced fertilizer if you give it to them, but they don't even really need that. And they're just delicious. You can grow them and eat them at any size, from tiny little seedlings that you need to thin to make elbow room for bigger radishes, or you can wait until they are about this big or bigger, about 1 to 2 inches in diameter, and they're delicious. Great crop to grow anytime when it's cool outside. So now that you've grown these wonderful, wonderful vegetables, what do you do with them? I'm going to pass it off to Chef Jennifer Bajsel, and she'll show you what to cook with these ingredients.
Thank you, Jessica. I'm Chef Jennifer Bajsel, and I'm very excited to show you what we're going to utilize from the garden. We're going to work with radishes and some really beautiful green onions that came out of the garden today. So I thought, since it's spring and we're using spring vegetables, it would be great to make a stir fry. To start with, I want to cut our vegetables from the garden. And the reason we're starting with vegetables is because I do not want to cut chicken first and then use the same cutting board to cut vegetables on after, because we don't want cross-contamination and bacteria. So we're going to do our vegetables first, then we'll cut our chicken, and then we'll get into making the recipe. Okay, so to slice the green onions, you'll want to trim the hairy end off And then you can cut it straight or on a diagonal. I like the diagonal. I just think it's a really pretty presentation. So you're just going to make thin slices. Or you could make them wider if you want to have more of the size of the other vegetables that you're doing. So I'll show you both ways. So whichever way you choose, you just want to make sure that they're all the same size. And actually that might be nice as a garnish. And then we'll do these a little bit bigger to put in the dish itself. We'll go more wider. So we'll put these actually in the dish and then we'll do those for a garnish. Okay. Now we want to cut our radishes, and aren't these beautiful? These are called breakfast radishes because we just have a few of those. We're going to use your standard radish. What I love about radishes is they can bring some sweetness to your dish. They add some pepperiness to the dish and a nice crunch. So for these, we're going to cube, and we're going to want to make them about the same size as our broccoli florets, which is another spring vegetable that we're adding into our dish. And so for these, to do this, I like to cut those little ends off. Make them flat, and then just cube them. Okay, now that we've got our vegetables cut, we can cut our chicken. So I have some chicken already prepped, but I wanted to show you how to take a chicken thigh. And we're using chicken thighs, one, because they're affordable. Two, they also tend to stay a little bit more moist than white chicken breast. That'll dry out a little bit. But you can just go down the chicken thigh and cut it into, I like bite-sized pieces. And again, as you're cutting your vegetables and your chicken, you want to make sure that you're cutting them all relatively the same size so that they cook evenly. For this stir fry, we're trying to stick with vegetables that are available now. So our highlights are the radishes, the green onions, and then we're going to add some snap peas or snow peas. The difference with these are snow peas are flat, snap peas have a little bit more body to them. They're a little fatter, same great flavor. Some broccoli. You could certainly substitute green beans, or asparagus are coming up this time of year. So whatever vegetables you have on hand, stir fries are great for that because you can kind of mix in whatever you have on hand. So we're going to get our wok hot. If you do not have a wok, please, you can do this in a saute pan. Any kind of frying pan will work. So we're going to get this hot, and then once it's hot, you'll add your olive oil. I always like to get the pan hot first before I put the oil in for two reasons. One, if that phone rings and you walk away and get distracted, you could set the house on fire if the oil's already in there. And two, this will create a barrier so your food won't stick. If once the pan's hot and then you add the oil, it creates that nice non-stick barrier. So let's add our olive oil first, about a tablespoon. And then we're going to add our chicken. It's already been cubed. And let that get nice and brown. Kind of spread it out in the pan so that it doesn't crowd each other. If it crowds in the pan, it'll get watery and it'll what's called sweating, and then your meat won't get nice and golden brown. So spread it out a little bit. And then I'm also going to add just a pinch of salt and pepper so that it has some seasoning on it. But we're going to watch how much salt we use in this dish because our dressing or our sauce has soy sauce in it, which tends to be salty to begin with. We're going to let the chicken cook through until it's nice and golden brown, and then we'll remove it from the pan. Okay, once the chicken is cooked, we're going to actually remove that from the pan while we saute our vegetables. You should still have your oil still in the pan, and I used olive oil. You can use olive oil, avocado oil, any kind of oil that's got a nice high heat point or smoke point. I'm going to add just a little bit more. And then we're going to start with the vegetable that cooks the longest. So we're going to throw in the broccoli and the radishes. And using a skillet or a wok, if it's on medium to medium-high heat, this should cook fairly quickly. And if you've had a stir fry, you know that you want your vegetables crunchy and not really soft, so this does go pretty quick. which is important too when you're doing, whether you're doing Asian style cooking or any type of cooking. You want to make sure that all of your food is cut and prepped and ready to go before you start the dish, so that you're not stuck trying to put something in the oven and you're like, oh no, I didn't do this, and now you gotta wait 10 minutes while you chop an onion. Make sure that you go through the recipe and cut everything and chop everything. You don't have to have it in cute little, clear bowls, but make sure that you have everything ready to go before you actually start the cooking process. So you'll notice that we're using a lot of different colors, right? Our vegetables, we've got green, we've got red, our chicken's brown. It's important when you're eating to eat the rainbow, right? Because every different food and every different color brings in different nutritional values, antioxidants and flavonoids and all the goodness for your body. So try to eat the rainbow when you can. Okay, I want to throw in some garlic. I always put my garlic in the pan once I already have something in the pan, because garlic will scorch really fast and turn bitter. So since we've already got our broccoli and our radishes in there, we'll add our garlic. And then let's add our snow peas. And if you feel like it's getting a little too dry, just drizzle a little bit more oil on it. But not too much, because you don't want it to be like sloppy. We'll toss in those bigger green onions. And then while that is finishing, let's mix together our sauce ingredients. So we've got low sodium soy sauce, some lime juice. You could also use vinegar, some honey for sweetness. And I did a trick before I put this honey in this bowl, and I sprayed it with a little bit of oil so it would slide right out. And just give that a mix together. I'm going to toss in the chicken. Now, if you want your sauce to be a little thicker, you could put a little bit of cornstarch in this. But I think because it's such a small amount of sauce versus the amount of chicken and vegetables that we have in there, it's just going to do a nice light coating on it. And I don't think the cornstarch is necessary. So we're going to add that in. As I mentioned, let it coat really well. And then if you like a kick to your stir fry, add a pinch of red pepper flakes. Not too much though, because it can get pretty spicy. And that's just going to give it a nice coating. I would taste it and see if you need any additional salt or pepper. Maybe a pinch, not too much. And then you have a beautiful spring vegetable stir fry. This can be served over rice or eaten just by itself with just the chicken and vegetables.